Hey there, my savvy home buyers and sellers. This is Jeff O'Leary, the Village Guru, and welcome to the January 2023 Sarasota and Manatee County real estate market update. Whether you're a buyer, seller, or investor, you're not going to want to miss this. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. Well, it was quite a wild ride for real estate in 2022, with the year starting off in record-breaking territory with historically low inventory and high demand. We then started to feel the effects of inflation in the spring, which led the Federal Reserve to announce a series of rate hikes over the rest of the year, which did have a major impact on real estate markets everywhere. Next, we dealt with Hurricane Ian and its aftermath, and to top it all off, we had an election, and we all know how much fun they are. So here's hoping for a more calm and stable 2023. Now, in terms of real estate in the Sarasota Manatee area, home sales in November for all types were down approximately 41.5% when compared to the same time last year. For prices, single-family homes in November were up 14.9% year over year, while the condo and townhouse segment was up 8.4% year over year. Inventory for all home types continued to edge up, where we are now looking at anywhere from 2 to 3 months of housing supply. While this is still in seller's market territory, buyers are finding that they have more negotiating power and are able to take advantages of deals and incentives that are currently available out there. Later in this video, we'll take a closer look at the numbers and what the near future might look like. But before we do, it's time for our breaking news segment. So to start off this segment, let's talk about the big elephant in the room, and that is inflation. In this article by Political, they are talking about how inflation, while it still remains high, has actually cooled down from the summer and the fall of 2022. In fact, right here in the article, they indicate that inflation in the United States slowed again last month, in the latest sign that price increases are gradually cooling despite the pressures they continue to inflict on American households. If you go a little further down in the article, on a month-to-month basis, the consumer price index rose just 0.1% in November, down from 0.4% in October. If you read further through the article, you'll see that while we still are dealing with high inflation, it is coming down from the peak that we experienced in the summer. Now, hopefully that's good news, and as we continue on into 2023, the interest rate hikes will either slow down or stop completely. At that point, I feel once inflation's under control, that we might actually start to see interest rates go down, because I still believe that our society now runs on low interest rates, and to have high interest rates for an extended period of time will have a lot of other impacts, not including just housing, but on the economy as a whole. So watch for the Federal Reserve to monitor it closely, and at the first sign that they can ease off, I have a feeling that they will. So we'll keep monitoring this as we go into 2023. And for our last piece of news, let's go to the National Association of Realtors to check out the whole real estate market across the United States as a whole. Now, I know we're talking about Florida and more importantly, Sarasota and the Manatee areas. However, a lot of buyers and sellers come from outside the state. So looking at the country as a whole will give us an indicator, because that will have an effect on our local market here. So here we are looking at the website, and released just at the end of December, the National Association of Realtors has given us some key highlights as to what has gone on. So when it comes to the United States as a whole, existing home sales have fell for the 10th consecutive month. So just like here, and sales have actually slipped about 7.7% from October to November, and over 35% year over year. So just like Sarasota and Manatee, where we're down about 40%, we're pretty close when it comes to that metric. Now, when it comes to home prices, the median home price has gone up about 3.5% across the country as a whole. Now, when you're looking at Sarasota and Manatee County, we fared much better, as we are still looking at price increases anywhere from 8% for condos all the way up to almost 15% for single family homes. And I think that reflects the desirability of living in Southwest Florida. And finally, when it comes to inventory of unsold existing homes for sale, across country, we're looking on average of about 3.3 months of supply. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, what does inventory mean and how does it affect me? And that's a really good question. So let me give you a simple example. Say in your town, you have 20 homes for sale and each month 5 homes sell. If that's the case, then it will take 4 months for all the existing homes to sell. And that's what we refer to as the amount of inventory available. It gives us a snapshot of how the market's doing as a whole. Now, when it comes to you as a buyer or seller, generally speaking, anywhere from 0 to 4 months worth of inventory represents a seller's market. Obviously, on the lower end, prices will go up very steeply. If you're closer to the 4 months worth of inventory, you'll start to see a slowdown, maybe a subtle increase, but that's generally the statistic we go on in real estate. Anywhere from 4 to 6 months is considered a balanced market that neither favors the buyer or the seller. And then anything over 7 months worth of inventory is definitely a buyer's market where you're gonna see pressure to push prices down. Now, fortunately, we're still nowhere near a buyer's market. However, it has represented a better time for buyers as of late, especially ones with a large down payment, because you are able to negotiate and take advantage of discounts and incentives that are available out there. All right, for our final segment, let's take a deep dive into the numbers to see what's going on for your property type in Sarasota and Manatee, and also maybe give us a hint as to what to expect over the coming spring in 2023. All right, so here we are looking at a report from the Realtors Association of Sarasota and Manatee, and this is really the source where we get all the information for our local real estate market. So here we are looking at single family homes in the month of November. You can find this online, but I'm gonna go over the important points that I want you to take a look at, because again, I'm always looking as an investor for the signals as to what's going to happen in the future. So real estate isn't like a stock where you hear news and the next day the stock either goes up or down. Generally speaking, if something happens today, you'll see the effect of it in the real estate market in 60 to 90 days as the homes start to close that were sold during the time. When we're looking at single family homes, obviously sales are down big time. They're down about 43.7%. However, what I do want you to keep an eye on is both the median sale price and the average sale price is still up dramatically from the same time last year at 14.9 and 15.6 respectively. Now, another stat that a lot of people don't talk about is median time to contract. And this basically, another way of saying this is days on market. So when you go and you list your home for sale, it's the average time it's gonna take from when you put the sign in the lawn saying for sale until you get an accepted agreement. Normally speaking, in an average market, this is still very good at only 27 days. I remember days when it took 90 days, 120 days to sell a home. So 27 days is still pretty good. It's a little over 3 weeks. And again, it all depends on how you price your home. If you price it lower, then obviously you're going to get an offer sooner. And if you want to price it high and test the market, then you can be sitting on market a lot longer. So keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to median time to sale, that means from the time that you listed the home for sale till you actually closed and exchanged the keys. So right now we're looking about 74 days, which makes sense. So I always tell people when you're buying a home, generally you're looking at probably 60 days on average to close. However, it can always be negotiated. You can get a quicker closing or you can opt for a longer closing. But what this is telling me is it's right in line with what it normally should be. And finally, the last statistic I want to look at is month supply of inventory. So right now for single family homes, we're looking at 2.7 months worth of inventory, which while it's still a seller's market, it is definitely nothing compared to what it was in 2021 when we had under 1 month's worth of inventory. Now, to put it in perspective, when we're under 1 month of inventory, expect bidding wars, selling the home within hours of listing it, getting over asking offers and multiple offers. So now we're seeing less and less of that. However, if you do still have an amazing home and it's priced really well, you could still attract multiple offers and have a very strong and quick sale. Now, when we look at condos and townhouses, sales are down 36% from the same time last year. And when we're looking at price increases, they're a little more modest at 7.7% median sales price increase and 8.4% for the average sale price. Again, time to contract is only 16 days, so that is still very quick. And the median time to the sale is 65 days. So again, these condos, they're selling and they're changing hands fairly quickly. So if you're a seller, not to worry. The most important thing is obviously to price it properly, stage it, market it, and you should get a sale and be able to move on with your life. Now, finally, going down to month supply of inventory, it is actually lower than houses. We're sitting at 2.3 months worth of inventory. So still a very strong market for sellers. But at the same time, if you're a buyer, you definitely have more choice and a little more breathing room than you might have had in 2021. Now finally, the last bit of information I want to show you in this video are two charts that I created based off the real estate statistics for the area, which will give us a bird's eye view of how this market is behaving, and especially from the beginning of COVID all the way till today. Because you can't just look at 1 month and think that, it's not related. Everything that's happened since the start of COVID has been a chain reaction that's caused everything else to happen. So hopefully by taking a look at these charts, it'll put it in perspective and might also give you some clues as to what you might expect in the near future. So right here, the first chart we're going to look at is single family closed sales in Sarasota and Manatee Counties combined. Now, as you can see, starting at the beginning of January 2020, you can see that home sales started to go up, peaked somewhere mid-2021, and then kind of went down a little bit and kind of stayed steady all the way until the spring of last year, where we started to see a decline in sales. Now, when you zoom out, yes, they're not as high as they were in 2020 and 2021. However, sales have not dropped that much. I think it's just coming in line to balance itself out, because you have to remember in real estate, when the market gets really hot, it's going to slow down almost like a pendulum, but then it'll swing back to the middle. So keep that in mind. Now, we have to keep in mind that during October, we did have a hurricane and other reasons why maybe our market slowed down even more than it should have. But again, until interest rates get under control or we get messages from the federal government that things are under control and we know what's going on, there'll be a little bit of uncertainty in the market, which will keep some buyers and sellers away. Having said that, I still expect us to have a pretty good spring season. So let's keep an eye on these numbers and we'll monitor them on a month-to-month basis. Which leads me to the next chart, and that is new listings versus new pending sales. Remember, when we're looking at sales on any MLS statistics, closed sales are actually sales that might have happened 60 to 90 days ago and they're only coming to close now. If you really want to know what's happening today and how it's going to affect the market in 2 to 3 months' time, look at pending sales. So pending is the day that you actually sign the contract saying, yay, we agree to this price, and we're going to have that sale. So I like to keep an eye on it because maybe sales have gone down. However, your pending sales are going up, and that won't be reflected for 60 to 90 days. But if you're looking to time the market or get a jump on something, then it's always good to look at. So here we go. We're looking at this chart, and the blue line represents new listings by month, while the red line represents pending sales by month. Now, the important thing to look at is, generally speaking, new listings should be a little higher than pending sales, and sometimes you'll see the lines cross. Now, when you see pending sales go above new listings, that's where you have a severe shortage in inventory, and it's going to cause a real sharp increase in prices. And as you can see for our market, between January of 2021 all the way till about the end of spring, you had a lot of sales and not enough listings keeping track, which caused the market to really rise throughout 2021. So that's really how prices go up. It is supply and demand at the end of the day. Everything else reported on are factors that affect supply and demand. As we get closer to where we are now, in the spring of 2022, that's when the news started coming out that inflation was starting to get really high and that the Federal Reserve and the federal government were doing things to start to tackle inflation. And one of the ways to do that, obviously, was raise interest rates. So what you see with the red line are pending sales started to go down a little bit. So there's still demand. The people that were moving here, and that was fine. However, you saw a spike in new listings for sale. And I think that's a lot of people that were trying to get on market before interest rates went up and try and cash out. However, once we got through the summer, a lot of those listings came off the market and you see a sharp decline in listings coming on the market, bring it again more into balance. Now, going forward, what we need to keep an eye on, obviously, is the spread between the blue and the red line. If this blue line spikes up again, but the red line does not follow it, then you're going to have a ton more homes available, so your inventory, but sales remain steady. That will put downward pressure on prices. If there's too many homes for sale, sellers eventually are going to crack and start lowering their price. But as it stands right now, we've had a bit of softening of prices, and it's a great market to buy in right now, but you're not seeing the correction that you saw during the Great Recession. And until inventory goes super high, which I don't think it's going to do at this time, then I'm not going to bet on some massive correction in the housing market. But at the end of the day, all we can do is monitor the situation, keep looking at the numbers to make informed decisions that are right for us. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this January 2023 Sarasota and Manatee County real estate market update. Let me ask you a question. What do you think is going to happen in the real estate market? Will prices go up? Will prices go down? Let me know. I'd love to hear what you think. As always, if you have questions about real estate, always feel free to call or email me. I'm Jeff O'Leary, the Village Guru. Let's get you moving.